In my previous life, I took a bullet for her and cleared every obstacle for her, only to be given a check for $3 million. After I died, she didn't even come to my funeral. Reborn, I'm tired. I don't want to be a simp anymore. This time, I only want to live for myself. But why, when I decided to let go, did she start to panic? The smell of disinfectant stung my nostrils, and I snapped my eyes open. A white ceiling, white sheets, and a cold needle in the back of my hand. I was reborn. Back to the day, I took a bullet for Sophia Taylor and lay in the hospital. In a previous life, I was stabbed by a crazed suitor while saving her and almost died. I lay on a hospital bed. She came to see me, her face still wearing that eternally unchanging iceberg expression. Ethan, thank you. She took a check out of her Hermes bag and placed it on the bedside table. This is $3 million. The password is 6 zeros. Consider it compensation. From now on, don't come looking for me again. After saying that, she turned and walked away without a trace of reluctance. I looked at that check as if it were the biggest joke imaginable. I had devoted 10 years to her, from university to the workplace, attending to her every need, always on call. I thought that even a stone with enough warmth for me would have been warmed. In the end, my 10 years, my one life, were worth only $3 million. Ridiculously, I even refused at the time, saying I loved her person, not her money. Then I kept being her sycophant, and in the end, to help her deal with a business rival, I was dumped in the river. When my body was hauled up, it was already swollen and unrecognizable. And she, Sophia, the woman I protected with my life, didn't even attend my funeral. I tugged at the corner of my mouth. A sharp pain radiated from the scar on my chest, but that pain was not even 1/10,000th of the hurt inside me. The hospital room door was pushed open, and the sound of high heels striking the floor grew from distant to near. It was Sophia. She was exactly as I remembered. A bespoke white suit, long hair pinned up, makeup immaculate, eyes as cold as a Siberian gale. Her gaze was like two ice blades stabbing into me. Awake. Her voice had not an ounce of warmth. I looked at her. The woman I had loved for 10 years suddenly felt utterly strange and ridiculous. I replied, my voice hoarse. Sophia walked to the bedside, her movements identical to those in my memory, and took that check out of her bag. Ethan, I owe you this time. She placed the check on the bedside table. Take these $3 million. We're even. That line again. Even. Well said. I looked at that flimsy piece of paper and smiled. In my last life, I tore it up. This life, why would I make things hard on myself over money? I reached out, took the check, and carefully examined the numbers on it. Good, not a cent missing. Sophia's eyebrows twitched almost imperceptibly, as if somewhat surprised by my reaction. To her, I should have reacted as before, blushing, shouting that I didn't want the money, that I only wanted her. Unfortunately, that Ethan was already dead in the cold river. Thank you, Miss Taylor. I folded the check and put away. Then I looked up, stared straight into her eyes, and said slowly, word by word, Sophia, let's break up. The air froze instantly. A crack appeared for the first time on Sophia's eternally ice-cold face. Her pupils constricted. She seemed unable to believe what she had heard. What did you say? I said, we're breaking up. I repeated, my tone as calm as if commenting on the nice weather. From today on, you walk your sunny road, I'll cross my solitary bridge. We have nothing to do with each other anymore. After speaking, I pulled out the needle from the back of my hand, gritted my teeth against the pain, threw off the quilt, and was about to get out of bed. A simp ends up with nothing, but given a second life, I don't want to be a dog anymore. I want to be human again. Ethan, are you done making a scene? Sophia's voice shot up suddenly, carrying a hint of irritation she herself hadn't even noticed. I didn't make a scene. I put on my shoes and straightened up. Though the wound still throbbed faintly, my spine was straighter than ever. I looked at her, the woman who once occupied my entire world. Miss Taylor, thank you for your $3 million. I'll settle the medical bills myself. The rest, consider it you buying out my 10 years of youth. Goodbye. No, good riddance. I didn't look at her again. I walked straight out of the ward. Behind me, Sophia's gaze was incredulous, complicated, and tinged with a hint of panic. But none of that had anything to do with me anymore. Stepping out of the hospital, the evening breeze brushed my face. I took a deep breath and felt fully alive again. The air of freedom, goddamn, it's sweet. I checked my pockets. Only a little over $200 left. I gave a self-mocking laugh. After 10 years of being a simp, I still ended up broke. But it's fine. Starting today, everything will be different. I first went to the bank to deposit those $3 million US, then took a taxi back to my 10 square meter rented room. Looking at the room full of things related to Sophia, her photos, the little gifts she'd carelessly thrown to me, and even the thick diary I'd written for her. With a blank expression, I found a black garbage bag and threw everything in, not leaving a single thing behind. After doing all that, I felt the last bit of shackles in my heart disappear. My stomach was growling with hunger. I changed clothes, tucked the few $1,000s in cash I had just taken out into my pocket, and walked out of the rental. Nothing celebrated a rebirth better than a barbecue. Downstairs at Old Lee's Barbecue, the air was thick with the smell of cooking. I found a corner to sit in and called out to the boss. Boss, 20 skewers of kidney, 20 skewers of tendon, 10 oysters, and another case of beer. All right, the boss responded cheerfully. Soon, greasy grilled skewers and chilled beer arrived. I popped open a bottle and gulped down half of it. The cold liquid slid down my throat, making me shiver with delight. This is what living feels like. In my past life, to cater to Sophia's so-called refined tastes, I never touched these unsuitable things. I studied wine, learned golf, and practiced Western dining etiquette, turning myself into a joke. And the result? While she chatted and laughed with those genuine wealthy airs, I didn't even have a right to join them. I ate while calculating the future. Relying on memories from my previous life, making money was ridiculously easy. I remembered very clearly that in 3 days, a little-known stock would skyrocket because of the announcement of a new technology, rising by hundreds of times within a month. My $3 million would soon become $300 million. I'll buy a big flat, hire 10 or 8 nannies, lie around every day, and do whatever I want. Isn't that better than being a simp? Just as I was savoring the thought, the ruckus from a nearby table interrupted my reverie. Little sister, have a drink with your brother. Why be so disrespectful? A sleazy voice said. I turned my head to look. A young man in a floral shirt and a big gold chain was harassing a girl. The girl looked like a college student, her hair in a ponytail. Although afraid, she stood stubbornly. I don't know you. Please show some respect. Respect? In Mist City, I'm Leo, and that means respect. The young man in the floral shirt laughed arrogantly, reaching out to grab the girl's wrist. Leo? I narrowed my eyes. The name sounded somewhat familiar. Oh, I remember now. The only son of the Wong family, a second-rate clan in Mist City, a good-for-nothing playboy who never learned anything. In his last life, he even set many traps for me because he coveted Sophia's beauty. I didn't expect to run into him so soon. What a small world for enemies. I originally didn't want to meddle. I just wanted to lie low and stay quiet. But what Leo said next made me put down the bottle in my hand. Damn it, giving face and getting no respect. Do you know Miss Taylor Group? I can sleep with her whenever I want. Who the hell do you think you are? He actually dared to mention Sophia. Although I'd already decided to cut Sophia off completely, hearing such trash talk about her in such filthy language still ignited a nameless fury in me. More importantly, this Leo was the one who in my previous life hired people to retaliate against me, which made Sophia think I caused trouble and grow even more disgusted with me. This life, I don't want such minor players to derail my grand plan to lie flat. It seems some troubles must be dealt with thoroughly in one go. The girl turned deathly pale with fear as Leo's hand was about to touch her. I stood up and strolled over slowly. I pressed one hand against the wrist of the girl Leo was about to touch. My movement wasn't fast, even somewhat languid, but Leo's hand felt as if it had been clamped by an iron vise and couldn't move. Leo hissed in pain and snapped his head around, his triangular eyes glaring at me viciously. Who the hell are you? How dare you interfere with my business? Are you bored with life? The few henchmen around him immediately closed in, each looking fierce and menacing. The atmosphere at the barbecue stall instantly grew tense. The other customers were too frightened to make a sound, and the owner looked awkward. The girl I was shielding whispered, "Thank you, but you should leave. They're not good people." I didn't turn around. I just said calmly to Leo, "Let her go, then get out." My voice wasn't loud, but it was like a bucket of cold water poured over Leo's arrogant temper. He froze for a moment, then, as if he'd heard the biggest joke in the world, burst into exaggerated laughter. "Ha ha! Did you hear that? He told me to get out." Leo pointed at me and said to his lackeys, "After all these years in Mist City, no one has ever dared talk to me like that." His laughter cut off abruptly, his expression turning icy in an instant. "Kid, I don't care who you are. Today, I'm taking those 2 legs of yours." No sooner had he finished than a yellow-haired thug behind him grabbed a beer bottle and hurled it viciously at my head. Gasps rose up all around. The girl was even more frightened and shut her eyes. I didn't even lift an eyelid. Just as the bottle was about to fall, I moved. I still held Leo's wrist, but I angled my body slightly and easily dodged the bottle. At the same time, I lifted my other foot and, as fast as lightning, kicked the blonde's lower abdomen. Bang! A muffled thud. The blonde thug flew backward like a boiled shrimp, hunched over, knocked over 2 tables with a crash, let out a pained groan, and couldn't get up anymore. The whole place fell deathly silent. Everyone was cowed by that crisp, decisive kick. The arrogant grin on Leo's face froze, replaced by a look of astonishment. The remaining hangers-on exchanged glances and didn't dare step forward again. "All of you get him! Finish him!" Leo snapped back, furious. A few of them mustered their courage and charged at me together. I sneered. In my previous life, to protect Sophia, I was personally trained for 3 full years by her grandfather, who had served as a special forces instructor. Although I hated that time, I have to admit that using what I learned on these few thugs was like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. I loosened my grip on Leo's hand, my figure flashing like a tiger entering a flock of sheep. Only the crisp sounds of crack, bang, and screams could be heard. In less than 10 seconds, Leo's several henchmen were all already lying on the ground, with either broken arms or broken legs, howling everywhere. I clapped my hands as if I'd only done something insignificant. Then I turned around and walked step by step toward the stunned Leo. The color drained from his face in an instant. His eyes were filled with fear as he looked at me. "Why you? Don't come closer." He was so frightened that he stumbled back 3 steps and fell onto the ground, landing in a sit and getting covered in grease. "Do you know who I am? My dad is Thomas Wong. If you touch me, my dad won't let you off." I walked up to him and looked down at him from above. "Thomas," I laughed. "I'll be waiting." I bent down, picked up the half-empty beer bottle from the ground, and twisted off the cap. Under Leo's frightened stare, I poured the cold beer over his head, not leaving a single drop. "Today, I'm just giving you a lesson." My voice was soft, but sounded like the whisper of a demon. "Don't let me see you again. If I do, it won't be your subordinates' legs that get broken. Get out." Leo trembled all over and scrambled away, rolling and crawling, not even bothering about his underlings wailing on the ground. The farce ended there. I turned around. The ponytailed girl was looking at me with a gaze full of admiration and gratitude. "Bye, big brother, thank you. My name is Lily White. I'm a student at Mist City University. You, no need to thank me." I waved my hand, cutting her off. I wasn't doing it for her. I was just clearing away a stone that might trip me up on my path to lying flat. I tossed a few $100s on the table and said to the stunned owner, "Boss, the bill's paid. Keep the change." With that, I turned and walked away, my deed and reputation hidden away. Behind me, Lily's admiring gaze and the reverent murmurings of the other diners meant nothing to me. I just want to go home and get a good night's sleep. However, I didn't notice that in a black Bentley at the corner, a pair of cold eyes had taken in everything that had just happened. Inside the car, the atmosphere was oppressively tense. The driver and the assistant in the front passenger seat didn't even dare to breathe. Sophia sat in the back seat, a document pinched in her hand, but her gaze remained fixed on the figure that had vanished into the night. Her heart was in turmoil. The man at the barbecue stall who had felled a crowd with 3 punches and a few kicks, his eyes icy, his presence overwhelming. Could it really be Ethan? Is that Ethan who had followed her for 10 years, who spoke cautiously and didn't even dare to contradict her loudly? Is that Ethan who instinctively hid behind her whenever he saw a thug? She didn't believe it, but the facts are right there in front of her. Since leaving the hospital, she had been feeling a knot in her chest. She didn't understand why Ethan would suddenly say he wanted to break up. 10 years. He had been like her shadow. She had grown accustomed to his presence. She thought he would always be there. So when he said he was leaving, her first reaction wasn't sadness, but anger, a fury at her possession being taken out of her control. She had the driver follow him. She wanted to see what this man intended to do after leaving her. As a result, she saw the very scene from before. That decisiveness, that ruthlessness, that ease and composure. It was something she had never seen. Check. Sophia finally spoke, her voice cold as ice. Emily, the assistant in the front passenger seat, hurriedly came to her senses. Miss Taylor, check what? Check the Leo he just mentioned, Thomas Wong. Yes. And also, Sophia paused, her expression complicated. Check Ethan for the past 10 years. Besides following me, what else has he done? She suddenly realized that she might never have truly known this man. 10 years. All she knew was that his name was Ethan Johnson, that he was her classmate, her suitor, her hanger-on. Beyond that, she knew nothing. Emma felt a little awkward. Miss Taylor, we've already checked Mr. Johnson's files. Very ordinary. An orphan, finished university on scholarships and part-time jobs. Nothing special. Then check again. Sophia's voice brooked no argument. I want the most detailed report, including who he meets every day and what he does. Yes, Miss Taylor. Emma dare not say more. The Bentley slowly started and merged into the traffic. Sophia leaned back in her seat, closed her eyes, but Ethan's expression from a moment ago kept replaying in her mind. It was a look of detached understanding of everything and a hint of disgust. He was disgusted with me? That realization made Sophia's heart clench sharply, a strange, unpleasant feeling spreading through her. She couldn't figure it out. What exactly had she done wrong? She had given him $3 million. More than enough, settling everything between them. So why did he look at her with that expression? Could it be that he really didn't love her anymore? The moment that thought popped up, Sophia immediately snuffed it out. Impossible. He had loved her for 10 years. This must be his new trick, playing hard to get. Yes, it definitely was. He wanted to get my attention this way, to make me beg him to stay. A self-mocking, cold smile curled at the corner of Sophia's mouth. Ethan, you're far too naive. Sophia Taylor, would never turn back. You want to play? I'll see you through to the end. I'll just wait and see how long you can hold out. The next 3 days were incredibly pleasant. I slept until I woke naturally every day, then went to the market to buy some vegetables and went home to make myself something to eat. In the afternoon, I'll go for a stroll in the park and watch the old men play chess. In the evening, I'll go back to old Lee's barbecue, stand to eat skewers and drink. No calls from Sophia, no messes to deal with. I feel completely relaxed. This is what life is. Over on Sophia's side, sure enough, there's no sign of anything. I guess she must think I'm playing the hard-to-get game, waiting for me to break down and go back to beg her. Unfortunately for her, she would be disappointed. Not only will I not go back, I'll live better than ever. Today is the day that stock is about to skyrocket. I got up early, ate a little, and took a taxi to the biggest brokerage in Miss City. In my past life, to help Sophia manage some investments, I was intimately familiar with these procedures. Opening accounts, transferring funds. I looked at the $3 million in the account and, without any hesitation, went all in on a stock called Aurora Tech. At present, Aurora Tech's share price is only $1.20, half dead and lifeless, a junk stock everyone avoids. But only I knew that at 2 this afternoon, because it would release a disruptive chip technology, its stock price would skyrocket. After buying the shares, I left the brokerage. All that remained was to wait. I didn't go home. Instead, I wandered through the busiest commercial district in the city center. I paused as I passed a real estate agency. The rental was too small. It was time to move. I went inside. A young agent immediately came up enthusiastically. "Sir, hello. Are you looking to rent or buy?" "Buy a house." "All right. Do you have any requirements? Like location, size, budget, that sort of thing?" I thought for a moment. In my previous life, I dreamed of owning a unit in the top riverside luxury residence in Mist City, the Galaxy Summit. That was the real wealthy district of Mist City. A single apartment there easily cost hundreds of millions of dollars. "Is there a ready-built unit at Galaxy Summit?" I asked calmly. The smile on the young agent Jack Wong's face froze for a moment. "Galaxy Summit?" He sized me up from head to toe. I'm dressed very casually today, wearing flea market clothes that add up to less than $300. No matter how you look at it, I don't seem like someone who can afford a place at Galaxy Apex. The enthusiasm in his eyes instantly faded by more than half, and his tone became somewhat perfunctory. "Sir, buying a property at Galaxy Apex requires asset verification, with a minimum of $500 million in liquid funds. And there are no small units now. The smallest are 500 square meter large flats." The implication was, you can't afford it, so don't waste our time here. I smiled and didn't mind. I've seen plenty of people who flatter the high and look down on the low. Capital verification, huh? Fine. I took out my phone and opened my stock account. It was 1:30 in the afternoon. 30 minutes until 2. In the account, that $3 million still lay there quietly, even having fallen a bit to just over $2,900,000. Jack glanced at it, and a trace of disdain appeared at the corner of his mouth. "With just this little money, you still want to buy a unit at Galaxy Pinnacle?" At that moment, a woman in a professional skirt suit, who looked like a manager, walked over. "Jack, what's going on? Does this gentleman need anything?" "Sarah, this gentleman wants to see a unit at Galaxy Pinnacle," the agent called Jack said, his tone tinged with mockery. The manager called Sarah froze for a moment, but her professionalism kept her smiling. "Sir, I'm sorry, but Shingha Summit does require proof of funds. If it's inconvenient for you, we can look at other developments, such as—" I raised my hand to interrupt her. "No need, we'll wait a little while." I watched the time on my phone screen, ticking away second by second. 2 p.m. sharp. A miracle had happened. The stock price chart, which had originally been as still as a stagnant pool, suddenly seemed injected with adrenaline, forming a 90-degree angle and shooting straight upward. $1.20, $2, $5, $10. But in just a few minutes, the stock price had nearly increased tenfold. My account balance, which was less than $3 million, instantly surged to $30 million. And this was only the beginning. The entire trading hall was buzzing because of this speculative stock. WTF? What happened to Aurora Tech? Are they crazy? Limit up. Limit up. Who the hell bought it? The broker Jack beside me was also staring wide-eyed at the string of dazzling numbers on my phone screen. $30 million. His throat moved. His face was full of disbelief. I turned off my phone and looked up at manager Sarah, who was equally stunned. "Now, can you take me to see the house?" Sarah reacted much faster than that, Jack. After the shock, her face immediately filled with a perfectly professional smile, even tinged with a bit of flattery. "Sir, of course. Of course. This way, please. Let's go to the VIP room to talk." She shot a hard glance at the stunned Jack and personally led me toward the broker company's internal VIP room. Jack's face went deathly pale, He knew he had misjudged and had offended a true tycoon. In the VIP room, top-tier Earl Grey tea was immediately served. Sarah personally poured tea for me, keeping her demeanor extremely deferential. "Sir, I'm really sorry. Jack failed to recognize greatness. I apologize to you on his behalf. Which set of the pinnacle of the galaxy would you like to see? I'll arrange it for you right away. Bring out your best suite." I lifted my teacup, blew on the steam, and said lightly, "Best." Sarah's eyes lit up. "That would have to be the penthouse crown unit. 360-degree river views, private sky garden and infinity pool, fully furnished, full smart home system, move-in ready. The only issue is the price." "How much?" $300 million US. Sarah gave the price cautiously. I nodded. "Okay, let's go with that. But I don't have enough money right now." Sarah's smile stiffened for a moment, but quickly returned to normal. "It's okay, sir. We can view the house first. And as for the funds, I'll pay the full amount within a month." I interrupted her. "Aurora Tech's stock will stabilize around $120 per share in a month. My $3 million will become $300 million. Perfect." Hearing me speak so confidently, Sarah actually believed me. Someone who can turn $3 million into $30 million in a few minutes. If they say they can produce $300 million in a month, they're definitely not bluffing. This is definitely some financial tycoon experiencing life. "All right, sir. I'll arrange a car right away. We'll go see the apartment now." Half an hour later, I was standing before the floor-to-ceiling window on the top floor of Pinnacle of the Galaxy. Below my feet flowed the ceaseless river and the dazzling city lights. The entire mist city seemed as if it were beneath my feet. In my previous life, I could only look up from below here, fantasizing that one day Sophia would bring me up. In this life, I climbed up here by myself. Moreover, I will become the master of this place. "Sir, are you satisfied?" Sarah was eagerly introducing at my side. "Not bad." I nodded. "Prepare the contract." All right. Sarah was overjoyed. This was a huge deal. Just the commission could save her 20 years of hard work. Just then my phone rang. It's an unfamiliar number. I answered it casually. "Hello." A deep, gloomy male voice came from the other end of the phone. "Is this Ethan Johnson?" "It's me. Who is this?" You don't need to know who I am." The man's voice snorted coldly. "You just need to know that you've provoked someone you shouldn't have. Leo, Mr. Wong, you remember, right?" I raised an eyebrow. "Thomas Wong's man?" The motion was pretty quick. "You're given 1 hour. Come to the abandoned factory in the western suburbs. Come alone. If you dare call the police, or don't come, then wait to collect the body of that college student named Lily White." The call was disconnected. I gripped the phone. My expression turned ice cold in an instant. Again like this. In my previous life, Leo used this same tactic to threaten a friend of mine and force me to go over. Then he sent an ambush and broke one of my legs. When Sophia found out, she didn't help me. Instead, she scolded me for causing trouble and embarrassing her. This time, they actually dared to use the same tricks again. And what's worse, they even dragged innocent Lily into it. I originally just wanted to lie low, but some flies insist on buzzing around. It seems that unless I swat them all at once, I won't get any peace and quiet. "Sir, is something wrong?" Sarah asked with concern when she saw my expression. "It's nothing." I put away my phone and regained my composure. "I have some personal matters to take care of. Prepare the contract. I'll come back later to sign it." "All right, sir. Shall I send a car for you?" "No need." I walked out of Galaxy Summit and hailed a taxi at the curb. "Master, go to the abandoned factory in the western suburbs." The driver glanced at me through the rearview mirror, as if about to say something, then stopped. I said calmly, "I'll pay you 10 times the fare." "Got it. Please sit tight." The driver floored it, and the taxi shot out like an arrow from a bow. "Is that Thomas Wong?" "So he's a big shot in Fog City's underworld?" "Very good. I'd like to see whether you can keep that precious son of yours safe today." The abandoned factory in the western suburbs had its rust-streaked gate wide open, like a giant maw ready to devour someone. I paid the fare and walked in alone. The interior of the factory was vast and dim, with only a few beams of light leaking through the broken windows, revealing dust motes dancing in the air. Just as I stepped into the center, the surrounding roll-up doors came crashing down with a clatter. The lights suddenly flashed bright. On the factory's second-floor platform, Leo sat smugly in a chair. Standing beside him was a man in his 50s with a fierce look, presumably his father, Thomas Wong. Below them, Lily was tied to a chair with a cloth stuffed in her mouth, looking terrified at me and shaking her head repeatedly. On the factory floor, dozens of burly men armed with steel pipes and machetes stood, surrounding me in a ring. This show of force is even bigger than in my previous life. Ethan, you really had the balls to come. Leo sneered when he saw me, standing up arrogantly and pointing at my nose. Weren't you so tough that day? Today I want to see how you fight dozens of people. Thomas said nothing, only sizing me up with a scrutinizing, sullen gaze. I ignored Leo's taunts and fixed my eyes directly on Thomas. Let her go, and I can pretend nothing happened. My voice echoed in the empty factory. Ha ha ha. Leo laughed again. Are you fucking kidding my dad? Who the hell do you think you are? Dad, don't waste words on him. Break his legs first, make him kneel, and kowtow to me. Thomas finally spoke, his voice hoarse and deep. Young man, you've got some skill, but you don't know your place. I, Thomas Wong, have run things in Miss City for 30 years. You're the first person to touch my son and to threaten me. He waved his hand. Finish him. Dozens of burly men shouted, brandishing weapons, charging at me from all directions. Lily shut her eyes in fear, tears running down her cheeks. I stood rooted to the spot, motionless, just as the steel pipe of the first thug was about to strike my head. I moved. My figure blurred into an afterimage as I charged straight into the crowd. 3 years of hellish training in my past life had already etched the instincts of combat into my very bones. I had no weapons. My body was the strongest weapon. Elbows, knees, fists, feet. Every strike landed precisely on the enemy's most vulnerable joints and parts. Crack! A burly man's wrist was easily snapped by me, and the steel pipe clattered to the ground. Bang! With a side kick, I struck another man's temple. He didn't even let out a sound before collapsing straight down. I tore through them like an unstoppable tiger rampaging through a flock of sheep. Those so-called strongmen were as fragile as paper in front of me. Screams, bones cracking, one after another. In less than a minute, dozens of strongmen all fell to the ground, rendered incapable of fighting. The entire factory fell into a deathly silence once more. Only heavy breathing and pained groans remained. Leo on the second-floor platform had long since lost the look of triumph on his face. He stood with his mouth agape, staring at me as if he had seen a ghost. Thomas also suddenly sprang up from his chair, his expression extremely grave. He'd spent 30 years running in the Jianghu, seen countless masters, but someone like me, barehanded, taking out dozens of armed thugs in a minute and coming away without a scratch. He had never seen anything like it. This wasn't human. This was a monster. I flicked non-existent dust off my hand, looked up, my gaze like lightning, and stared straight at Thomas. Now, can we have a proper conversation? Thomas's expression was changeable. He was battle-hardened and could naturally see that the strength I had just displayed was far beyond that of an ordinary thug. This was a true martial master. Such a person would either come from a reclusive ancient martial family or from a mysterious state force. Whichever the case, he was not someone a local tiger could provoke. He glanced at his still trembling son and felt remorse for the first time. What kind of being had this unfilial son actually provoked? Who are you exactly? Thomas's voice had lost its earlier arrogance and now carried a trace of apprehension. Who I am isn't important. I climbed the iron ladder to the second floor step by step. My footsteps sounded unusually clear in the silent factory. What's important is that your son messed with someone he shouldn't have. Leo was so frightened he hid behind Thomas, trembling as he said, Dad, he's a monster. Thomas slapped Leo across the face. Shut up. You unfilial son. He took a deep breath and, facing the figure of me who had already walked onto the platform, actually clasped his fists in salute. Sir, this matter is because I, Wang so-and-so, failed in raising my child properly. I am willing to compensate. I only beg you to show mercy and spare my dog's son. Able to yield and to stand firm, he was not without some character. Too bad. He picked the wrong person to mess with. I said nothing, walked straight to Lily, untied the rope around her, and took the cloth out of her mouth. Are you okay? Lily was still shaken, but she still shook her head, her eyes red as she looked at me. I'm fine. Brother Ethan, I'm sorry I got you into this. It's not your fault. I comforted her, then helped her to her feet. I turned around and looked at Thomas again. Compensation? I sneered. Do you think I'm short on money? Thomas was momentarily stunned. Of course, someone of his caliber wouldn't be short on money. What do you want? It's simple. My gaze landed on Leo. Make him disappear from Fog City. I don't want to see him anymore. Leo trembled all over and screamed, No, Dad, I don't want to go. I don't want to leave Fog City. Thomas's expression grew extremely ugly. Forcing his only son to leave Mist City hurts him more than killing him. This means the Wang family's roots will be severed. Sir, isn't this demand a bit too? You have no choice. I cut him off, my tone cold. Or I can do it myself and make him disappear forever. There was an undisguised, murderous intent in my words. Cold sweat instantly soaked the back of Thomas. He had no doubt that this young man in front of him would definitely say it and be able to do it. In the face of absolute power, the influence and connections he had cultivated for 30 years seemed so ridiculous. He closed his eyes as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. All right, I agree. When he opened his eyes again, they were full of resolve. Tomorrow, I'll send him to Africa. Without my permission, he shall never return to the country. Dad, no, Leo cried. Thomas, however, acted as if he hadn't heard. He bowed deeply to me. Please, sir, keep your promise. I keep my word, I said, nodding. See them out. Thomas immediately called over one of his uninjured men and had him drive Lily and me away. From beginning to end, I didn't look at Leo once. This kind of ant isn't worth my time or energy. In the car, Lily kept stealing glances at me. Big brother Ethan, who exactly are you? You're amazing. I'm just an ordinary person who wants to lie flat. I leaned back in the seat and closed my eyes to rest. Lily nodded ambiguously, not asking further. But the light of admiration in her bright eyes only grew stronger. What I didn't know was that shortly after I left the factory, Sophia's assistant Emma, holding a newly uncovered file, knocked on the CEO's office door. Her face showed an unprecedented look of shock. Miss Taylor, we found something. Another dossier on Ethan. No, Mr. Johnson. Speak. Sophia looked at the documents without lifting her head. Mr. Johnson, 3 years ago, he was personally trained by her grandfather, Mr. Arthur Taylor. Codename, Blade. What did you say? The pen in Sophia's hand clattered onto the desk. She jerked her head up, her eyes filled with disbelief. Say that again. Emma swallowed, then handed over the top secret file. Miss Taylor, this was pulled from Mr. Arthur's highest level classified archives. 3 years ago, Mr. Arthur personally selected Mr. Johnson and put him through a 3-year secret Special Forces level training program, with the aim of making him your ultimate shadow bodyguard. His combat, reconnaissance, driving, and intelligence analysis skills, they're all top tier. His codename is Blade. Sophia picked up the file, her fingers going slightly white from gripping it too hard. The document contained a photograph of Ethan, but his gaze was completely different from the one she remembered. It was the kind of coldness and resolve forged by the baptism of blood and fire. Below were his various training results. For every item, it read, outstanding. Sophia's mind went blank. A sharp blade? She remembered her grandfather once telling her that he had prepared the sharpest knife for her, one that could protect her at any time. She hadn't taken it seriously then, thinking it was just her grandfather's exaggerated words. She never would have imagined that this sharp blade would turn out to be Ethan, the one she had summoned and bossed around, the one she had considered a burden. He possessed such immense power, yet before her he pretended to be a meek, ordinary man for 10 long years. Why? The answer was self-evident. Because he loved her. He feared that his great power would frighten her, feared she would withdraw from him because of it. So he put away all his sharp edges, disguising himself as a harmless sheep, just so he could quietly stay by her side. And herself? How did she treat him? She treated him as a driver, as an assistant, as a human shield, enjoying his meticulous care, yet turning a blind eye to his devotion. After he took a bullet for her, she sent him away with $3 million, as if dismissing a beggar. After he died, she didn't even attend his funeral. No, that was the previous life. But in this life, she did the same thing. Hiv. Sophia suddenly laughed, the laughter tinged with a bit of desolation. She had always thought she was in control of everything, that Ethan was merely a dispensable subordinate. Only now did she realize how absurdly wrong she had been. She wasn't the one in control. She was just a favored fool, arrogant because of that favor. With her own hands, she pushed away the man in the world who loved her most and was most willing to give everything for her. Miss Taylor, you. Emma looked at Sophia, who seemed distraught and felt a bit worried. Prepare the car. Sophia sprang to her feet, grabbed her coat, and hurried out. Where are you going? To hell with him. Sophia's voice trembled with urgency. No, find out where he is right now. Immediately. She's going to see him now, at once, this instant. She has to apologize to him. She has to bring him back, no matter what the cost. I sent Lily back to school, reminded her to stay safe, then took a taxi back to the real estate agency. As expected, Sarah had already prepared the contract. Mr. Johnson, you're back. Is everything taken care of? Then the contract. Sign it. I skimmed through it hastily, found no problems, and signed my name. Starting today, the building king of Stellar River Peak is mine. Although it will still be a month before the full payment is made, to me it's already a done deal. After signing the contract, I was in high spirits and declined Sarah's offer to treat me to a meal, strolling alone down to the riverbank to feel the breeze. The blueprint for the future is already crystal clear in my mind. Once I have 300 million US dollars, I'll give myself a long vacation and travel the world. See all the world's beautiful sights, taste all the world's delicious food. As for women, in my previous life, Sophia hurt me so deeply that I've steered clear of relationships ever since. Isn't lying flat alone more enjoyable? Just then, the phone rang again. This time it was Sophia. I looked at the name flashing on the screen, my expression utterly calm, and I hung up immediately. Soon after, the call came again. Hang up again. The third time, I blocked him outright. The world became quiet. I don't know what kind of frantic mood Sophia on the other end of the line was in when she heard that the number you have dialed is currently on another call message. He hung up on me? He actually hung up on me. Sophia paced back and forth in the office, her meticulous makeup unable to hide her agitation. He blocked me. Where her third call failed, she almost screamed. Emma stood nearby trembling, not daring to speak. In 10 years, she had never seen Miss Taylor lose her composure like this. Locate his phone. Now, Sophia gave the order. Miss Taylor, that's illegal. I told you to do it. Sophia's gaze was murderous. Yes. A few minutes later, Emma reported, Miss Taylor, Mr. Johnson's last known location was on Seaside Avenue. Without a second word, Sophia grabbed the car keys and rushed out. By the time her Porsche 911 thundered down the Seaside Avenue, I had long since left. She stood by the river, the evening breeze tousling her long hair, her face full of loss and bewilderment. She couldn't find him. The man who used to appear instantly whenever she called, no matter when or where, now she couldn't find. A huge panic seized her heart, and I, at this moment, am inside a newly opened top private club. The owner of this club is a friend from my previous life called Ryan Zhao. He's a righteous second-generation rich kid. I came here relying on my memory, and sure enough, he was fretting over security issues before the club's opening. I didn't say much, just showed a few tricks. Ryan was stunned on the spot, immediately treating me like a distinguished guest, giving me the highest level black gold membership card, and even shoving 10% of the equity at me, asking me to be the club's honorary security consultant. I had planned to refuse, but Ryan spoke so sincerely, saying that if I didn't accept it would mean I looked down on him. I had no choice but to reluctantly accept. Anyway, as a consultant, I wouldn't have to do any real work. Free money is a good thing. Why turn it down? Just as Ryan and I were sipping top-shelf whiskey, the door to the private room was pushed open. A stunningly hot woman with an explosive figure walked in. Seeing Ryan, she immediately smiled and greeted him. "Ryan, congrats on your opening." Then her gaze landed on me, and she froze for a moment. Ethan, what are you doing here?" I looked up and was stunned as well. Isn't this Sophia's best friend, the famous socialite of Miss City, Chloe Zhou? In her past life, she certainly wasn't shy about helping Sophia bully me. What a small world. We meet again everywhere in life. Chloe is famous in Fog City's high society as the stamp-collecting queen. She has extremely high standards for men, only the rich or the noble. Someone like me, a former simp, has always been beneath her notice. At this moment, she saw that I was actually sitting with Ryan drinking, her face full of surprise and contempt. "Ryan, when did the standard of your club drop this low? Let any Tom, Dick, or Harry in." She spoke without any courtesy, her gaze scraping at me like a knife. Ryan's expression instantly darkened. "Chloe, watch your words. Ethan is my honored guest. He's my brother." "Brother?" Chloe sounded like she had heard a joke. "Ryan, are you kidding? He's just a dog following Sophia around. Sophia dumped him. What face does he have to come to you? Trying to clamber up the family tree?" I set down my glass, my eyes turning cold. "Chloe, I'm in a good mood today and don't want to argue with you. Get out. You want me to get lost?" Chloe laughed angrily. "Ethan, who do you think you are, daring to speak to me like that? Who are you? Without Sophia, you're nothing but a fart." I didn't speak again. Dealing with women like that is dirty work. I'd rather not get my hands involved. I simply looked at Ryan. Ryan immediately understood. He picked up the walkie-talkie and said coldly, "Security, escort Chloe out. Effective immediately, revoke her membership, blacklist her, and never admit her again." Chloe's expression changed in an instant. This club was Mist City's newest and most high-end den of decadence. Getting in here was a symbol of status. She had finally managed to get a membership card and was counting on catching a rich sucker here. If she were kicked out, she would lose all face in the circle. "Ryan, how dare you?" she screamed. "For the sake of such a waste, you dare offend me? Do you know what my relationship with Sophia is? I don't care who you're connected to." Ryan waved his hand impatiently. "To me, Ethan's face is bigger than the sky. Throw her out now." Two security guards immediately rushed in, one on each side, holding Chloe. "Let go of me. Do you know who I am? Ethan, you bastard. I won't let you off. Sophia definitely won't let you off either." Chloe's shouting grew more distant until it faded away. The private room returned to silence. Ryan looked at me apologetically. "Ethan, sorry, I embarrassed you." "No problem." I shook my head and picked up my glass again. I just felt a pang in my heart. This is reality. When I had nothing, anyone could kick me down. When I showed my strength, people naturally stepped in to sort everything out for me. This world, in the end, admires strength. I took a sip of wine, my gaze deep. "Sophia, what are you doing now?" "Taylor Group, the president's office." Sophia hadn't slept all night, her eyes bloodshot. She used all her connections and almost turned the entire Miss City upside down, but still couldn't find me. I seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. On the table lay one report after another about me, from my orphanage experiences to my university grades, and then the files about being secretly trained by her grandfather. The more she looked, the more her heart ached, the deeper her regret. She realized that my life had almost entirely revolved around her. I studied finance, so I could help manage her company. I trained in martial arts so I could protect her. Everything I did was for her. But she lost him. Just then, Emma knocked and came in, her expression strange. Miss Taylor, Miss Chloe is here. She says she has something very important to tell you. About Mr. Johnson. Sophia's spirit lifted. Let her in. Soon, Chloe, whose makeup had been ruined by crying, rushed in and, upon seeing Sophia, threw herself at her and began to sob and complain. Sophia, you have to stand up for me. That Ethan, he actually had Ryan kick me out of the club. He even blocked me. Sophia frowned tightly. Ethan, where did you see him? At Ryan's newly opened Stellar Club. He was buddy-buddy with Ryan, looking very impressive. Chloe embellished. Sophia, you're his former follower who's grown wings now. You don't even look at me anymore. He certainly hasn't been looking at you. You need to teach him a good lesson. Sophia ignored her provocation. She only grasped the key point. Xingyao Club. Ryan. She knew Ryan, a well-known rich second generation in Miss City, someone who lived life to the fullest in their circles but had very high standards. Anyone he called a brother was by no means ordinary. Ethan, how many more things is he hiding from me? I understand. Sophia stood up, a trace of determination flashing in her eyes. Sophia, where are you going? To bring him back. Sophia's voice wasn't loud, but it carried an unquestionable firmness. No matter who he is, no matter what he has become, Ethan Johnson, can only belong to her, Sophia Taylor's. When I left the Star Radiance Club, it was already late at night. Ryan insisted on sending a car for me, but I refused. I like walking alone, enjoying this kind of undisturbed quiet. I returned to my shabby rented room. Although I already own a place at the peak of the galaxy, until I finish paying the full amount, this is still my temporary lodging. As soon as I reached downstairs, I saw a familiar figure. Sophia. She was standing under the streetlight, still wearing that white suit. Only it looked a little disheveled. The evening breeze blew through her long hair, making her seem somewhat fragile. When she saw me, her eyes lit up instantly, and she hurried toward me. Ethan, you're back. Her voice carried a hint of joy and grievance she hadn't even noticed in herself. I stopped in my tracks and looked at her with an expressionless face. Miss Taylor, it's so late. Is something wrong? My address struck Sophia like a needle. Before, I would only call her Sophia. Ethan, can we talk? She lowered herself, almost speaking in a pleading tone. I don't think we have anything to talk about. I walked past her, intending to go upstairs. Ethan, she grabbed my wrist. Her hand was very cold. Why? She looked at me, her eyes rimmed with red. Why do this to me? 10 years. You say let go, and you let go. What did you take me for? I was almost laughing with anger. Shouldn't that be something I ask her? Sophia, are you mistaken about something? I shrugged off her hand. We're already broken up? Everything's settled. What do you mean by coming to see me now? I don't want to break up. She almost shouted. I don't agree. Whether you agree or not is not important. I looked at her coldly. Sophia, listen carefully. The Ethan who used to orbit around you is dead. The me now has nothing to do with you. Why? Is it just because of those $3 million? If you think that's too little, I can give you more. 30 million. 100 million. Just come back, she said urgently, assuming money was the key. I smiled. A laugh of genuine derision. Sophia, do you still think, after all this time, that every problem can be solved with money? In your eyes, are feelings and dignity things that can be given a price tag? My words were like a heavy hammer, striking hard at her heart. Her face went pale, her lips trembling. She couldn't speak. Put away that haughty attitude. I looked at her, my gaze without a trace of warmth. I'm not a pet you can buy back with money. I'm tired. I don't want to play these boring games with you anymore. After speaking, I ignored her and turned to walk into the stairwell. Behind me, Sophia's body wavered as if she might collapse at any moment. She watched my resolute back, and tears finally slipped down. She didn't understand why things had turned out like this. She was simply only used to being on top. Could it be that it was truly a mistake? Back at the rental, I completely pushed Sophia out of my mind. After a shower, I lay down on the bed and soon fell asleep. The next day, I was awakened by a rapid knocking at the door. I frowned as I opened the door and found that the person standing there was Lily. She was carrying breakfast. When she saw me, she smiled sheepishly. "Ethan, big brother. I was afraid you hadn't eaten breakfast, so I brought you something." "How did you know I lived here?" I asked, somewhat surprised. I asked around. Lily's cheeks flushed. I looked at the soy milk and fried dough sticks in her hands and felt a warm twinge in my heart. It had been a long time since anyone had brought me breakfast. "Come in." I stepped aside to let her in. The rented room was very small. Lily looked a bit uneasy as soon as she came in. "Brother Ethan, are you really living here?" She looked at the shabby surroundings, feeling somewhat sorry for me. For now, I took the breakfast, sat at the small table, and began to eat. Lily sat opposite me, resting her chin in her hands, quietly watching me. Those big eyes were filled with little stars of admiration. "Brother Ethan, you were really so handsome yesterday. You're impossible to shut up even when it comes to eating." I smiled. He. The atmosphere was warm and natural. Just then my phone rang. It was Ryan. "Ethan, something big has happened." As soon as the call connected, Ryan's anxious voice came through. "What's wrong?" "Aurora Tech. Aurora Tech is being maliciously shorted by an overseas fund. The stock price has started to plunge." I frowned. Malicious short selling? That didn't happen in my previous life. Could it be that my rebirth triggered a butterfly effect? I immediately opened my phone to check the stock price. Sure enough, Aurora Tech stock price plunged all the way after today's opening, falling more than 30% from yesterday's limit up. If it keeps falling like this, forget about $300 million. Even my $30 million will be totally wiped out. "Ethan, what do we do?" I followed the trend and bought some too. Now it's all locked up. Ryan was almost in tears. I narrow my eyes, try to snatch food from my mouth. "Not that easy. Don't panic," I said in a low voice. "How much capital do they have?" "Rumor has it, at least $1 billion US. A $1 billion short position. It's meant to drive Aurora Tech straight into delisting. Such ruthless measures." I understand. I hung up the phone, my gaze becoming sharp. "Brother Ethan, did something happen?" Lily asked with concern. "It's nothing, just a little trouble." I stood up and paced in the cramped room. The other side is well funded. A head-on clash definitely won't work. We must find their weakness. Short selling is nothing more than borrowing shares to sell, then buying them back after the price falls to return the shares and pocket the difference. Their Achilles heel is Aurora Tech itself. As long as Aurora Tech can release even bigger positive news and restore market confidence, the stock price can be pulled back up. By then, that $1 billion of shorting funds will be brutally squeezed out of their positions, wiped out completely. But now Aurora Tech's biggest positive news has already been released. In the short term, where would they find even bigger good news? I suddenly remembered something. In my previous life, after Aurora Tech announced the chip technology, they actually had another ace up their sleeve. That means their technology had already been approved by the military, and they had signed an enormous, sky-high procurement contract. But that news, because of a confidentiality agreement, wasn't released until a month later. And it was precisely that announcement that finally stabilized Aurora Tech's stock price at $120. If I could get that news released early. I immediately picked up my phone and dialed a number I had thought I would never call again in this lifetime. The phone rang 3 times and was answered. An aged, yet authoritative voice came from the other end. "Hello, Mr. Arthur, it's me." Silence on the other end of the line. After a long while, a sigh carrying excitement and complexity finally came. "You brat, you're finally willing to call me." Arthur Taylor, Sophia's grandfather, a former military district big shot, was also the man who personally trained me into a blade. He was one of the few people I genuinely respected. In my previous life when I died, it was that old man who collected my body and erected my tombstone. "You brat, I thought you had forgotten about this old man." There's a trace of reproach in Arthur's voice, but more of it was relief. How could that be? I smiled. Don't talk nonsense. You never come for no reason. Spit it out, what do you want? Arthur, the kind of man he was, immediately guessed my intention. I won't beat around the bush either. I directly recounted how Aurora Tech had been maliciously shorted. Mr. Arthur, I know Aurora Tech has cooperation with the military. I need this information released now, immediately, right away. Silence on the other end of the line. This is not a small matter. Leaking military procurement information in advance is a breach of protocol. Give me a reason, Arthur said in a low voice. First, this is an open scheme. The other side is using their capital advantage to strangle our own high-tech firms. Their intentions are damnable. We can't let them succeed. Second, I've gone all in. On the other end of the line, Arthur was stunned for a moment, then burst into a hearty laugh. Ha ha, good kid, you're honest. All right, I'll do you this favor. But you'll owe me one, kid. No problem. I agreed readily. I hung up the phone and let out a long breath. With Arthur handling it, this matter was secure. Sure enough, in less than half an hour, a major piece of news was released through the military's official media. Warm congratulations. Our military has reached a strategic cooperation with Aurora Tech, with the first batch of purchase orders amounting to as much as tens of billions of US dollars. Once the news broke, the entire capital market instantly erupted. Aurora Tech's stock price, as if strapped to a rocket, shot up even more ferociously than before. Limit down. Reopened. Straight line surge. Limit up. The whole process took less than 5 minutes. Those shorting funds didn't have time to cover their positions and were instantly trapped. I watched the account balance on my phone skyrocket, a faint smile tugging at my mouth. $30 million, $50 million, $100 million, $200 million. By the afternoon close, my account balance had already frozen at $320 million. I had made it, in one day, from $3 million to $300 million. This is the power of rebirth. Ryan's call came through again. This time his voice was full of ecstatic relief and unbounded adoration for me. Ethan, you're my real brother. You're stock god. I love you to death. I couldn't be bothered to listen to his screaming and just hung up. I looked at Lily beside me, who had witnessed the whole thing from start to finish and was completely numb, and smiled. Come on, I'll take you to a place. 1 hour later, I took Lily and returned to the real estate agency. The agent named Jack went weak in the knees when he saw me and almost fell to his knees. Sarah ran out to meet us, her smile brighter than a flower. Mr. Johnson, you're here. I ignored them, took a bank card out of my pocket. There are 300 million US dollars on it. Swipe it. That penthouse at Galaxy Apex, I want it right now. The whole room fell dead silent. Everyone's gaze was fixed on the card in my hand. It wasn't a card. It was an ordinary person's dream that could never be reached in several lifetimes. And I achieved it in just one day. That night, I moved into the peak of the galaxy. Standing before the enormous floor-to-ceiling window, overlooking the night view of the entire Mist City, I felt a deep calm. No elation, no excitement. As if all of this had always been meant to belong to me. Lily was beside me, her little face flushed with excitement. Big brother Ethan, this place is just too beautiful. Do you like it? I asked. I do, she nodded vigorously. From now on, you can live here. I said calmly. Lily froze, then her cheeks flushed. No. I can't, this is too precious. There's nothing you can't do. I looked at her. I won't be back often. Such a big house would be lonely lived in by one person. If you move in, think of it as helping me keep the place. I could tell this girl was kind and innocent. Letting her move in would at least give her a stable living environment, so she wouldn't be harassed again by scum like Leo. As for romantic feelings between us, I don't have that in mind for now. Lily hesitated for a long time, but in the end, under my insistence, she agreed. I watched her happily run back and forth in the huge living room like a joyful little bird, and a trace of a smile unconsciously appeared at the corner of my mouth. Maybe this isn't so bad after all. Just then, the doorbell rang. I was a bit puzzled. Who would come here? Through the entrance surveillance, I saw the person standing outside the door. Sophia. She changed out of her suit, put on a white dress, wore light makeup, and let her hair down. This outfit took away some of her chill and added a bit of softness. This was the look she used to only show in front of me. She was still holding a thermos, standing at the door with an anxious expression, like a little girl who had done something wrong and was waiting for judgment. I looked at her on the monitor, my expression not showing the slightest ripple. I didn't open the door. Instead, I pressed the intercom button. Something wrong? My cold voice came through the speaker. Sophia trembled. She lifted her head, looked at the camera, and her eyes instantly filled with tears. Ethan, I made your favorite corn and pork rib soup. I simmered it for a long time. Could you open the door? There was a trace of pleading in her voice. Corn and pork rib soup. I smiled. In my past life, I begged her countless times to cook for me once. She always wore a cold expression and said she was busy and had no time. Now, when I didn't want to drink, she brought it to me. How ironic. No need, Miss Taylor, I said indifferently. I've already eaten. Ethan, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Her voice turned tearful. I shouldn't have used money to humiliate you. I shouldn't have been so cold to you. Will you forgive me? Can we go back to how we were? Back to the way things were. Return to that past where you looked down from on high and I was humble as dust. Return to that past where I gave you everything and you discarded me like worn-out shoes. Sophia. I cut her off. My voice was calm and clear. Do you know? The most useless things in this world are affection that arrives too late and tears of regret. A broken mirror will not be made whole again. My life has already turned to a new chapter, and you're merely a period on the previous page. Go back. Don't come again. After speaking, I hung up the call and turned off the surveillance. Outside the door, Sophia stood there dumbfounded, letting tears blur her vision. The insulated food container slipped from her weakened hands and clattered to the floor. Steaming soup spilled everywhere, just like her heart completely shattered. As for me, I only turned around, poured myself a glass of red wine, walked to the window, and continued enjoying the night view that belonged to me. A new life had only just begun. As for Sophia, whether she regrets it or not is none of my business. In this life, I live only for myself. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the third day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, "Mary. This is my wife, Mary." I took her hand and stepped forward. "Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me." She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. "Is she really Mary?" The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. "The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is?" She opened her mouth, but no words came out. "That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost." I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. "Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew." The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. "What surprised me even more," I continued, "was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. "Mr. George," a stranger's voice called from behind. "Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared." He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. "And you are?" "I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area," she explained with a smile. "I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit." "Thank you." I nodded. "I'll be leaving soon." She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. "That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive." "It's blood amber," I explained, "a very rare gemstone." "I know," she said softly, "top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare." I looked at her in surprise. "You know a lot about jewelry?" She smiled. "I study jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here." For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. "If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting?" she asked. "My wife," I replied. "She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer." "I'm very sorry," she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. "This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently." She nodded thoughtfully. "Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her." For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. "Sorry, I have to continue my rounds." She glanced at her watch. "See you tomorrow, Mr. George." "See you tomorrow," I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. "Who is this?" The response came quickly. "Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow." Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. "Mr. George, thank you for coming." The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. "Did you send the email?" I asked directly. She nodded. "There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me?" We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me. Not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, "In memory, dedicated to teacher Mary." Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. "New friend?" he asked me quietly. "Mary's student," I explained simply. "Very talented." Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. "Mr. George," Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I've always had a question I wanted to ask you." "What is it?" "After you finished The Pursuit, what are you planning to create next?" The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since The Pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. "I haven't decided yet," I answered honestly. "It might take some time to find a new direction." Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. "Maybe," Nicole said softly, "you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further." I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. "You mean creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry?" "Exactly," Nicole said excitedly. "Your paintings create emotion in 2-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the 3-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect." The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." "Then, may I consult you often?" she asked a little nervously. "Of course, I'd be delighted." On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered." For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes. Even though I may never be able to. I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, Teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but..." "But what?" "But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. I think this is the best arrangement for both of us. Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. Are you really going to just let her go like this? What do you mean? I pretended not to understand. Don't play dumb, man, Frank said bluntly. You have feelings for her. That's obvious. That's just professional rapport, I argued. Is that so? Frank looked at me meaningfully. Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France? I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about, Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow, so this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence, no matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.